Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. Today's session is called Timeless Tips for New Grads, Searching for Careers During a Recession. And it's all about providing tips and guidance for new graduates to help them kickstart their career in the environmental sector. We all know it can be really difficult as a new graduate to make that leap from education to employment. It can feel really daunting and at times like you're trapped in a cycle of not having the relevant work experience you need to get your foot in the door. That's why I'm so excited today to bring you today's session, where we have Darrell Haight, who's CEO of Trace Associates, who's going to be sharing some of his timeless tips to help you as new graduates find a career that you will love. And there's obviously real great demand for this webinar today. We've had really great engagement and response, and it's actually our second highest subscribed webinar of all time at Eco Canada. So thank you so much for joining us. My name is Hannah Williamson, and I'm the Events and Training Coordinator here at Eco Canada. I'm going to moderate today's webinar. And before we start and hand over to Darrell, I just want to share some housekeeping tips for you just to make sure we can all enjoy and participate in the webinar effectively. First of all of our participants on the line are muted, so please check your audio settings. And if you're experiencing any technical issues, you can use the chat box and select questions for staff, and we'll do everything that we can to resolve your issue quickly. We do know that COVID-19 is putting some pressure on bandwidths with everyone working from home. So if you are having some technical issues, there's a couple of quick fixes that I will recommend right off the bat that can solve probably 99% of problems. First of all, close any unnecessary programs if you've got lots of windows open. That just helps concentrate the connectivity that you do have towards the webinar software. And if you are still having any issues with audio cutting in or freezing, try dialing out of the call and dialing back in again, and that will hopefully resolve the issue for you. Today's presentation will be made available to you on demand. So we're recording the session, and everyone who's registered or everyone who's dialed in will get an email with a link to watch the recording as many times as you like, and it will be available on the Eco Canada website. Questions are encouraged. There are no stupid questions, so please again use the chat box and select questions for staff. And we're going to have some dedicated time after the presentation to put all of your burning questions to Darrell. If we run out of time and we don't have time to get to your question, don't worry, we'll take those offline and make sure we get you an answer after the call ends. And finally, here at Eco Canada, we really want to know what you think about our webinars and how we can keep improving the series and making them better. You'll be sent a short survey after the call ends, and if you could just take a couple of minutes to let us know what you thought about today's session and what you'd like to see from Eco Canada moving forward, that would be amazing. Today's webinar is brought to you by Eco Canada. We are the steward of the Canadian environmental workforce across all industries and sectors in Canada. We champion the end-to-end career development of environmental professionals, and we don't only train and certify and work with the individuals working in the sector themselves, but we also do in-house research to help identify and address the labour market gaps in the Canadian environmental industries. And that really helps us tailor our programs and services towards you, the professionals. We are all about driving responsible, sustainable economic growth to ensure that environmental care and best practice is always a priority. Now, without further ado, I'm so delighted to welcome today's guest speaker. Darrell Haight is the CEO, President, and co-founder of Trace Associates Incorporated. Darrell, alongside Ms. Rhonda Smith, co-founded Trace in 2006 in Calgary. Darrell has over 20 years of experience in business operations, strategy, entrepreneurship, and leadership. Under Darrell's amazing leadership, Trace has grown to over 90 employees, including 45 employee owners across Western Canada. Darrell still oversees Trace's recruitment programs and really enjoys helping young professionals to find their best fit in the environmental industry. Welcome, Darrell. I'm so glad that you can join us today.
Thanks, Hannah. Just doing a sound check. You can hear me?
Yeah, it's coming in loud and clear.
Okay, great. So I can take over control.
Hopefully.
Good deal. Okay, well, thanks to Eco Canada for giving me the opportunity to share some of my learning and experience with you folks. I definitely, when I was starting my career around 20 years ago, applied for some funding through Eco Canada, and it was a great resource for me then, and great to see that the organization is still around and adapting and growing, and I got to tell you, it is a great organization. So thank you all for attending. These webinars don't work if we don't have an audience. So thank you very much for attending. I hope you do find some interesting tidbits that you can take away. And I just wanted to start by talking a little bit about our company. We're in business. We're a purpose-driven organization, and we're in business to help our people and our clients have a great life. So everything that we do as a company, we try and tie back to our purpose statements. And I'd really encourage you as new grads to think about what your purpose is in life. And when you're searching for a career, try and figure out what companies or organizations are going to help you fulfill your own purpose in life. So how do we do what we do? We try as best we can to take care of our people. And our mindset is if we take care of our people, then they're going to take care of our clients. And I think that's one of the secrets as to how we've grown beyond just Rhonda and myself throughout the years is we've been able to transition a lot of the client management to our folks, because we just realized we couldn't do it all, and wanted to have provide opportunity for others to help us out in that. So in terms of what we do for business, we are in the business of environmental and engineering consulting. We work for both private industry and government. And as mentioned, we started the company in 2006. We wanted it to be employee owned right from the get-go. And we work primarily in Western Canada, but are working towards a bit more of a national presence now. So by the end of today, I'm hoping that you have a few key takeaways to find a career, but find a career that is great for you. And what interests me in doing this is I remember how hard it was when I got out of school and was looking for a career. And I just tried to soak up as much information as I possibly could, talk to as many people as I could about, where some opportunities were. And I really tried to find a quality fit and something that I was going to be able to work out for a while and not bounce around. And I ended up finding a great fit, and I missed out on some early opportunities that I thought I was devastated at. And everything happens for a reason. And I was really glad that those opportunities didn't work out, because I ended up finding a great home, and I still work with many of the people that I started my career with. So hopefully I can help you in some small way. And with that, we'll get going. We do have some live poll questions that we're going to be trying out. So I've never done this before. Eco Canada has. And we just wanted to find a way to get a little more engagement rather than have everybody just listen. So look for the live poll. So with that, I've got my talk focused on about 8 tips that I would suggest, and it's the top 8 that I guess I could fit in today. There's lots of resources out there, and this is certainly my personal thoughts on recruitment and finding a career. But I wanted to start off with our first live poll. So I believe it'll prompt you to answer a question. And one of the questions I wanted to get you thinking about is, how many organizations are you focusing your career search on? We'll just give everybody a moment and get you to answer, and then we'll check it out, check out the results. I feel like there should be Jeopardy music playing right now.
I know. Something to add in for the future.
Mm-hmm.
I can see lots of people responding. We'll just give it another 5 seconds. Okay, poll is closed. So hopefully you should be able to see the results.
Okay, well, this is great. I think everybody is on the right track with the first answer. So, my suggestion, going back to the slides, is to focus your efforts. And it seems like a lot of you folks are doing that. And if you're questioning whether that's a good strategy or not, I think it is. I really recommend that people keep a focused effort. Don't spread your efforts amongst every company out there and apply to every single job that is out there. Focus on quality, not quantity. So, you know, when I was starting out my career, I was in the situation where I was applying to everything and anything that came up, and my mindset was, well, somebody will eventually offer me a job, and I'll just get started in my career. And I read a book, and it said, you know, that's a tough strategy because you only have so much time, and you know, people aren't going to just latch onto your resume and offer you a job, and you might not find the best fit, and your life is really at stake. So yeah, I think you're on the right track if you're focusing your efforts. It gives you more time to network with those folks. And you know, when I narrowed my search, I started talking to family friends, and any family that had a great job and spoke well of their employer, I tried to network with them and see if there was any opportunities there. And then I touched base with a lot of my school colleagues, and you know, thought, hey, if they've got a job and they're happy, why don't I network with them and see if there's any opportunities in those companies. And of the summer jobs that I ended up getting, and then the first career I got, it was all through that focused network. I don't think I got one interview from all of the, you know, companies out there that I researched on the internet at the time and looked in the yellow pages for everything. All of my summer jobs and then my first career came from my own network building. And I had the proper time to professionally bug them and not be overwhelming. But yeah, it ended up working out great. So I think you guys are on the right track there. So that leads me into the second tip that I would have. Let's just see if I can advance the slides. Okay, for some reason it's not reacting. There we go. So the second tip I have is just building your own network. And now that's really challenging when we don't have a lot of in-person meetings and opportunities, but you're doing the right thing by attending here today, and just stay connected. You know, when you're building your network, I would specifically say when you reach out to people, don't ask them for a job, because they might not have a job open at that time. And it's very easy for them to pass you off and just say, sorry, we don't have any positions today, or sorry, I'm not the decision maker, I can't help you out. Or they might be put off by the request. A lot of people just don't like it when, you know, people unknown to them reach out and start asking them directly for jobs or for things. You know, reach out to people when you don't need something from them. And if you are reaching out, you know, your first goal is to just build your network. And then after time, after you've built some kind of rapport and relationship, that type of stuff will happen and that conversation can happen. But I know for me, we'll have openings one month and, you know, and then the next month we won't. Then life will happen. Somebody will, you know, move out of the country, or maybe there's a pregnancy in the family, some kind of life event that, you know, we filled a position and we think it's going well, but then life happens and the person leaves the organization and things open up again. So it's really hard for you guys to perfectly match up your timing. And I would say just keep in contact. And when you're building that network, don't just call somebody or reach out and ask for a job, because like I said, they might not have one at that time and they might be put off by that request. So with that, my third tip, let's see if it can advance. It's not advancing for me right now. But the third tip I have is just be real. So the second live poll question that we have, we could just pull up the live poll, is, are you hesitant to be yourself? and nobody's going to see your own personal answer here. It's all anonymous, but I just want to get a sense of where people are.
So lots of people answering. We'll give it another 5 seconds if you haven't submitted your answer. Okay, let's have a look at the results.
Yeah, so a little closer to 50-50. So my advice is to be real and be yourself. If there's no connection with that employer, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, it's part of the process to figure out who's the best fit for one another. Sometimes the employer will make that decision, and by not offering you an interview or offering you a job or whatnot. Sometimes that's up to you. But really, I think it's important in life in general to be real, be yourself, and you'll end up finding a better fit. So at the end of the day, people doing interviews and recruitment, one of their jobs is to figure out if people are being themselves or they're just telling employers what they think employers want to hear. And we can figure it out, and you essentially start wasting people's time and your own time if you're showing up to interviews or applying to organizations that just aren't a fit for you. And if you're fake or misleading, people will figure that out. And it's proven in business that people do business and hire people that they trust. And if I get the sense that someone's being fake or misleading, that's a very easy way for me to move on and focus my efforts on other individuals. So the other thing I would say with that is you could be wrong. If you're trying to guess what employers need and want, you might be wrong. They might be looking for exactly who and what you are. And in my own life, when I was in university, I was not the strongest student. I did not have perfect grades. At times, I would struggle to keep up with the pace of university life. And I realized, academics, although I could graduate university and get my degree, I wasn't at the top of my class academically. And I realized one of my greatest strengths was team building, bringing students together. I participated in the student association and was always organizing social events that made the students have some, a sense of belonging and camaraderie. And I realized when I was going out into the workforce that, I was applying to consulting firms, and I just said, I'm not going to be the top academic new grad and person for you. I'm going to bring different skills to the table. And it ended up, I got a job offer from a company that actually really needed somebody like me. And it was great. They had a lot of the, top tier students already hired, and they wanted to round out their team with someone that did want to be a future team lead and focus on the things that I was really strong at. So as it turns out, by being myself, I think I got that opportunity. So my next tip for you folks is to be persistent yet professional. And if you could just advance the slides, it's for whatever reason not working for me. So this is a tough balance, and I know the struggle that you're having with that, and you'll always have that struggle, because if you have any kind of business development component to your career, you'll fight that as well too. It's tough to find that balance. So you want to be persistent yet professional, and really try and use your intuition and judgment there. If somebody is simply not responding, that may be that they're just busy or the timing is off, but be professional in your follow-up. Most people stop the follow-up after 1 or 2 conversations, and they think, well, this person didn't respond to my email, or they didn't get back to me. I left a voicemail. I applied through their system, and it didn't. Nobody got back to me. We get hundreds and hundreds of applicants for every posting, and part of the screening process definitely is persistence. And this is not true for all organizations. I know a lot of companies say don't follow up on specific jobs, but that doesn't mean you can't network with people and interact with them outside of that recruitment process for that exact position. So yeah, it's your job to stand out and be noticed. Nothing's ever going to be handed to you. You have to hustle, and that persistence with some professionalism and respect for people's time is really critical. So with that, if we could get on to my next tip. I touched on this a little bit, but I would say tip 5, don't just take any job that comes at you. You want to get home safe every night. And if you're not engaged in the work, it's going to come across in your performance. It's also, for a lot of careers in the environmental world, going to put you at a safety risk. And you want to have your mind on the task. You want to be engaged, and you don't want to risk your life just to get a job and get experience. New grads, young people have a higher chance of being injured or killed in the workplace. So respect that and understand that, and make sure that you're aligning with a company that has a great safety record and training program, and that you're doing your part in that, and you're applying to positions that you're going to be engaged in. And if you get the sense, if you do start somewhere, and it's not a fit for you and you're putting your life at risk, I would strongly suggest you find another career, another path. And don't just assume that all employers are equal on the safety front, because they're not. It's something that's hard to talk about in the working world, but I think it's really important. And just don't take any job that comes at you. Keep looking for that right fit, and definitely factor in the safety side of things. So with that, tip number 6, really play to your strengths. I touched on this before, but do your best to be very self-aware of what your strengths are and play to those. Do some self-reflection, but ask people close to you. They'll know you really well, and get an idea of what they think your greatest strengths are and what your passion is, and play to that. You can, if you're going to go somewhere where you can play to those strengths, you'll be more valued, and you'll feel better about your work, and probably stick around a little bit more. And we've heard as employers that young people only stay at jobs for 1 to 2 years. They bounce around a lot, and we just have not found that as an organization. We find that our young people are very engaged, very loyal. They just have, like every generation, different things that they're looking for, and that'll be happening for as long as humans are on the planet. Every generation will be looking for different specific things that are more important to them than the previous generation. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think every person, regardless of how old they are, they want to be appreciated, they want to be valued, and they want to go somewhere where they're playing to their strengths, and the focus isn't on always just fixing your weaknesses and how are you going to do this better and whatnot. We find that focusing on people's strengths helps them be engaged a little bit more, and the loyalty is there. So play to your strengths. Tip number 7. Could advance this slide. Be a great communicator. So in the world of texting and instant messaging, at times we get lazy with our grammar and our spelling and communication on that end. Forever and ever, communication will be one of your greatest assets. So time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste yours and others. And however you communicate, be concise. Professionals are always busy, so lengthy written or verbal communication shows that you don't value their time, but you also don't value your own. and it gives us really great insight into who you are. I still read books on how to communicate better, how to write better, how to do better presentations. A lot of it is upfront planning and planning what you're going to say, proofreading your emails. It sounds maybe simple, but communication is a really great skill. So my advice is to personalize every cover letter with your resume. I would never submit a resume without a cover letter as well. The cover letter is what gets the reader interested in you. And if I see a cover letter that's over 1 page, that tells me that this person is struggling to be concise, and that gives me insight into their work. And my fear is when we hire this person, everything that they write is going to take me way too long to read. And I'm going to have to spend more time and effort on it to get to what the real point is. So your cover letter is the start of employers getting insight into you. So my personal approach to screening is no cover letter. I skip the resume. If it's a long cover letter, I skip. If there's errors, I skip. And, you know, certainly you see it is a lot of effort to personalize cover letters. But if you get it right, it's a really great start. And, you know, I would say show some personality and give us a reason to want to communicate with you. So yeah, I've been doing this for around 20 years, and like I said, I'm still reading books on how to communicate better and how to write better. And if you write an impactful cover letter and email that's good, thoughtful, genuine, concise, and to the point, I think that'll benefit you. So moves us on to my next tip. What employers are looking for. So we got a live poll. I think we changed from 2 polls to 3 polls. So this is poll number 3. So do you think it is more important to take additional technical training or soft skill training after graduation? So I'm assuming that most of you are new grads. So yeah, if we could just take some time to answer this question, we'll look at the results in a moment.
Great, just 5 seconds left, everybody. Get your answers in.
And we're doing okay for time overall, Hannah?
Perfect, yeah, we're doing great, Darrell. Okay, take a look at the results.
There we go. So again, right around 50-50. So I would say if you have a technical degree and you've gone to university and have a college diploma, whatever the case, you have a foundation on your technical training already. And what we find is that soft skill training is more important after you've got your baseline education. So things like effective communication, things like giving and receiving feedback, personal productivity, time management, having difficult conversations, all these different soft skill things are a much better investment of your time at this point. So there are certain situations where you need to fulfill a few technical courses to maybe get a professional designation, and I get that. I'm more talking about in general. We tend to say 80% of your training after university should be on this soft skill stuff, and it will put you ahead. It will benefit you. I think, you know, it's tough. You only have so much time and money at any point in your life, but especially as a new grad, if you're going to invest some dollars in some training, I would say focus it on some of this soft skill stuff. So yeah, I think every employer is a bit different with that. That's our take on it, and that's certainly my personal take. So yeah, with in terms of what employers are looking for, we're looking for people that are willing to invest in themselves. And I would say that soft skill training is something that's pretty important. That shows initiative. But overall, if you want to know what employers are looking for, you have to ask them, because everybody is looking for something different. Everybody has their own culture, and what we're looking for is going to be different than the next company. So there's no magic, answer for this one, and don't be afraid to ask. What I think every employer is looking for, though, and I would write these 3 things down, is regardless of the company, I think employers are looking for people with sound judgment, that, we don't need to tell them what to do and how to do it all the time. Certainly, we offer a lot of training. We have checklists. We have standard operating procedures. Those are great and they're useful, but they don't fit every single situation. And as an employer, I want to be able to trust the people that work for us, that they're going to do the right thing when I'm not around, that they're going to, do quality work and figure it out when someone's not looking over their shoulder and handing them a procedure, because a standard procedure doesn't tell you exactly how to do everything on earth. And so that would be number 1. I think every employer wants. Number 2, employers want people that can get results. So talking about things and ideas and ways on doing things better, that's great. We have all kinds of people in the world that can point out problems, that can identify potential solutions. The difference makers are the ones that can actually get it done and delivered. We have had great ideas in our company that have sat and gone nowhere because somebody hasn't grabbed onto it and delivered on it. And there's some people in the world that are idea generators, and there's some that have the perseverance, the grit, the ability to get results. And those people are really, really important right now, because we need them. It's all about getting results. And at the end of the day, like I said, we can have great ideas, but if we can't implement any of them, then we're not getting better. That's the second thing that I think every employer wants. And the third thing I would say is team players. So maybe it's obvious, I don't know, but a team player to me is someone who's positive, someone that's collaborative, and someone that's caring. If you're working on stuff within your own self, I would say, bring something to the table that the an employer's going to need and want, and don't care if you get the credit. Focus on just making the company better, making your boss look good, being a team player. So in all of your networking and your recruitment, correspondence and whatnot, be positive, be collaborative, show you care, and demonstrate how you've been a team player. And I think that'll set you up for success. So that's my tips. I believe we have some time for questions.
We do, thanks, Darrell. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Vanessa Morgan, who has been fielding the questions from the audience. It was a great presentation, Darrell. I know, having graduated about 10 years ago, how difficult it can be to make that first step into the sector. And then these are tips that you can kind of take with you and use throughout your career every time you find yourself kind of looking for jobs. So it's really great to hear your insight and wisdom. There's still time. If you haven't submitted your question yet, you can use the chat box. It's not often you get the opportunity to pick the brain of a CEO, so please don't be shy and get your questions submitted. And I'm going to now hand over to Vanessa, who'll take us through the questions that we've had so far.
Thank you, Hannah. The first question we have here is, what's the biggest mistake you see job seekers make?
Errors. Applications, you wouldn't believe how many applications we have with the wrong company name, like listing a competitor that they're applying to, and they send it to us. Grammatical errors, punctuation errors, not stating our complete company name, not referencing job descriptions, like just overall attention to detail. That is critical. If you don't have attention to detail in your first written correspondence to us, that gives me great insight into how your work's going to be, and it makes me concerned. So attention to detail and all those little things.
Okay. Second question here is, does Trace Associates only match students to companies in Alberta / West Coast?
Sorry, do we only recruit from those areas? Is that the question?
I think that's what they're trying to ask, yeah.
Yeah. What we do is, and I think a good chunk of employers do this too, is we look at the overall best fit of the person. And if we've had great people move from Central Canada, Eastern Canada, wherever, out west, and built their life here, and some have moved back and some have stayed here. So our position is we tend to look at the person and hire the person, and if they're willing to get to where the opening is or whatever, then that's fine. So that's our take on it.
Okay. Regarding tip number 2, what do you recommend we say when trying to network? So for example, instead of asking for a job, or if they're even looking, what could we approach them with instead?
Yeah, I think just asking for help and being vulnerable, saying, hey, I'm a new grad, it's challenging to find work, just looking for people to network with and to learn more about the best organizations out there, potential opportunities. Just, I'm sure you can all think of a lot of different questions that you have, and they're going to be unique to you maybe, and just don't be afraid to ask them. And don't be overwhelming with them. Again, go back to that communication tip on being concise. But yeah, just asking a question. I remember one time I was younger and I was wanting a raise, and I went to my financial planner and I said, hey, how do I ask my boss for a raise? He's like, I don't know, just ask.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask. And
Yeah.
just get it out there. Take the chance. So
Okay.
but asking for advice is probably pretty critical. If you ask for a job, like I said, they could say no, but if they don't want to give you advice and don't want to help you out, then that's fine. But ask for advice. Yeah.
Okay. Here's another question. I've been told that you may need to take a job right now that's not an ideal fit or for which you're overqualified. What are your thoughts on this dilemma? Should we still try to narrow our job search during such a bad recession?
All of your personal situations are unique to you. So you have to use your judgment on that. I don't think anybody can give you the right answer for you. If you've got to put food on the table and you've got a young family, your situation's different than someone that is a new grad that can maybe stay at home and doesn't have to pay rent anymore. So I think you really just have to look at your own personal situation, use your judgment, and do what you think is best. Nobody in the world will know what's best for you better than you. And you have to start honing that judgment and making the call. I remember being devastated when I wanted a local job here in Edmonton, and the guy called me back and just said, sorry, like I don't think we're the best fit for you. All the stuff that you want to do, it's a small component of our business, and you're not going to be doing it. And so I would recommend you apply at this company. And I was thankful he redirected me. And I wish I was just a little more honest with myself at the time, but he caught it and helped me out. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, wonderful. Do you have any recommendations for a person that doesn't have a technical degree?
Well, in the environmental world, we're hiring all types. So we still have accountants, we still have IT professionals, we still have administrators that proofread documents and all that kind of stuff. We have some business development focused people. So if you don't have a technical degree, every business has those kind of core functions that still need to happen. You can, that's where I would say maybe you take some technical courses to gain some exposure if you're really interested in the environmental world. But one big need for us right now is people that can integrate all types of technology into our day-to-day work. And so, that's a place where I think, again, maybe not technical, like taking more science-based courses, but some IT-related training could definitely set you apart. We have a lot of people that just, they're young, old, doesn't matter, but they just don't know how to implement technology as good as some others, and that could definitely set you apart.
Okay. What soft skills are most important to develop, in your opinion?
Having difficult conversations, professional, respectful conversations, using your voice to get a healthy debate going on a topic. When we have quiet meetings and nobody has an opinion and doesn't have the courage to bring it up, and that's a challenge for us. We work at it constantly. Our leadership team works on it constantly. So across all levels in our organization, we are really working on that a lot. And, some organizations call it healthy conflict. We've changed it and just called it healthy debate, because conflict has such a negative connotation to it. Yeah, I would say that's right at the top of the list for us right now.
Another question here is, how does the job situation look like in the present COVID situation?
I think it's tough. It's been tough many times in my career. When I was raised early on in my life, we had the early 80s recession, and it was tough then. So you're going to have a recession every 5 to 7 years or so. I think the environmental field is a decent one to be in. The highs are not extremely high, and the lows are not extremely low. We're seeing that some government funding is being directed to us, but that's not going to save the industry by any means. There will always be change in life. Like I said, some people have kids and get out of the industry, and then we need to hire some new grads to replace them because maybe they're going to be on maternity leave for 5 to 10 years. Maybe they're going to become a stay-at-home parent. So, and then spouses move to a different country and people need to leave you. So there will always be opportunity, and you want to be the person that has built that network. So when that opportunity comes up, employers know who you are and they think about you. You're not starting from scratch.
Another question, how do you respond to unsolicited messages on LinkedIn?
I try my best to reply to everyone. Again, you got to keep in mind, be concise. Professionals are busy. If you're too forward and too direct and you're asking for a job and just overbearing in that first initial contact, then it's tough. If it doesn't leave me with a bad feeling, even if I respond, then it just starts off on a tough tone, I guess. So LinkedIn can be great. I would say engage in LinkedIn. Comment on things that make sense to you and resonate with you. That's probably more effective, because then you get noticed a little bit more. And if I see anybody on LinkedIn that has a negative energy about them and they're always posting on negative stuff or commenting on negative stuff, that tells me that they're probably not a fit for me. So even more important than direct messaging on LinkedIn is how you engage.
So what are some skills you recommend new grads pursue, such as data science or programming? A lot of newly grads find that the skills employees are looking for do not match the skills they learned during their studies.
Yeah, troubleshooting and problem-solving technology, equipment and software, that type of thing. Excel is still a tried and tested program that that we're using a lot. So having really good working knowledge of Excel would be great. Any kind of database work and familiarization with that type of stuff. But, like we have field tablets that people are using in the field, and the software has to be, you'll always have to do some technology troubleshooting. So just being comfortable with that type of stuff. And I'd say that stands out a lot to me.
Another question is, I recently took a couple of years to walk 8,000 kilometers from Ontario to Alaska to fulfill a dream and to write about this unique experience. I previously worked 5 years in the environmental consulting industry. How would you recommend I talk about my period of absence?
That sounds like a wonderful story that would set you apart, and talk about that. I encourage everybody to talk about employment gaps. The right employer should never be discriminating or judging you on employment gaps. I like to know the story of people as much as I can, trying to fit within all the privacy legislation and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's just a story, part of the story in your life. And to me, that's interesting, and that tells me a lot about you. And there's even some, you might think they're unflattering gaps in your employment. Hey, I want to know what's really going on with people. We're just like everybody else. We have challenges in our life. We maybe had some of our own gaps and situations, and who knows, you might find a common ground with the person that you're talking with. Maybe they have the same challenge. Who knows? I mean, be careful about oversharing. But I think an appropriate amount is great.
Vanessa, maybe if we do one more question. We've got loads
Sure.
of great questions which we'll take offline, but maybe we have time for just one more.
Sure. The last question here is, what is your advice to students who haven't had any previous job experience throughout their course career and are seeking employment in the related field? How do we stand out to employers as we don't have much related experience?
I think I would translate any experience that you do have, try and translate the common skills that you could apply. So, if you worked in a restaurant business, share what you did that made you really great at it and made you stand out amongst the other folks. Don't exaggerate it by any stretch, but certainly that if you excelled at customer service and you did really well as a server, well, that shows that you're probably going to be really good at client service. There's always transferable skills, so try and figure out what you have and what that experience you've had prior, and what could be transferred into your next career. So we have certainly seen new grads that have some summer experience that is very clear to us that doesn't matter. They're just not a fit for us. So experience is not a given. We're hiring the person and then training the extra skills. And that's what I would advise you to do, is focus on you as a person.
Awesome. Thank you, Darrell. I'm going to hand it back to you now, Hannah.
Yes, thanks again, Darrell. It was really great to hear insight there on some of our listeners' questions. We do have lots and lots of questions more, which we'll take offline. And just thank you again for being with us, Darrell. It's obviously, there's a lot of interest, a lot of people, really looking for these tips and insights. So I'm so glad that you were able to share those with us today.
You bet. Thank you very much. Stay positive in your search. It's a full-time job looking for a career. So just keep going and don't stop. Don't let everything get you down. Stay positive, and you'll eventually find something that works for you. So thanks for attending, and appreciate you listening.
Great. And for everyone on the line, I just want to share some of the things that Eco Canada is offering right now that might be of interest to you. So we have lots of program services, products on our website that can help you as a new grad. www.eco.ca. I suggest that you check it out, and please do get in contact with me. My email address is events@eco.ca. If you have any questions or need any more information, I would love to speak to you afterwards and help you out. We do offer online training at Eco Canada, which is very timely right now with gatherings and face-to-face training being limited. So lots of courses focused around those soft skills that Darrell talked about, things like project management, communications, technical writing, all to kind of help you develop the soft skills that you need to really excel and grow your career. We've also just recently launched a brand new online training course, which is all about managing energy efficiency and renewable energy projects, designed for recent graduates, junior level professionals who are looking to get some information and some knowledge about energy efficiency, renewable energy projects, and how they can be implemented either for your organization as an individual or for a community. We also host lots of webinars, so we have some upcoming webinars over the next week, over a whole range of different topics. And if you go to our website, we offer lots of free webinars as well with tips around networking, soft skills, that would be great to check out and get some understanding of. We have one next week, which is all about how we can return to the workplace after COVID-19. And we have 2 lawyers from Oslo Law who are going to talk to us about the different things that need to be considered before we can start opening offices again. We also have a webinar next week around operational manuals and how having proper documentation in your organization can help really the business run smoother and help you adapt to unexpected changes like everyone having to work from home. Mitch Willis from Cohort Technical Communications is going to be taking us through the importance of having that documentation in place. And then we have another webinar next Thursday, which is by a couple of my Eco Canada colleagues, and they're going to, almost following on from what Darrell talked about today, talk about some of the specifics around resumes, cover letters, particularly for people who have unfortunately lost their jobs during COVID-19, but lots of stuff in that webinar that would be really relevant if you want a little bit more detail on kind of writing a resume, what to put in your cover letter. Again, that's absolutely free, and we'd love to see you there. You can go to our website, www.eco.ca, where you can sign up for our newsletter and get updates on all future webinars, training, and events. I want to thank Darrell and Trace Associates again, and I want to thank everybody on the line for dialing in. It's been really great to hear all of your questions, all of your feedback on Darrell's presentation, and I really hope that you found some tips that you can take away and apply to your job search. Again, if you have any questions or you want to follow up, you can contact me on events@eco.ca, and I'd happy to take any questions. Thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you have a fabulous Thursday. Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Darrell.